So I just made a trip yesterday to the state surplus store in Austin, Texas, um, which is where a lot of surplus property ends up from state agencies. Um, so there's a whole big sort of warehouse area there where they've got filing cabinets and office chairs and tables and old computer equipment. Um, if you're a small business owner or something like that, you might be able to find some stuff there for your office space that's might be a pretty good bargain. I mean, they've got office chairs in there that probably when they're new sell for $200 or whatever, and they've got them marked for $10, $20. Um, and some of them are pretty beat up, and some of them are not. So it's kind of like garage sailing or something. You might find something that's a bargain and good deal, or might find stuff that's serviceable. It's not going to cost you nearly as much as buying stuff new, but might not be a real special, amazing find. Um, but they also have at that same location um, a lot of pocket knives. And the pocket knives are not coming from a state agency. They are coming from airports in Texas, uh, where people have been stopped by TSA because they have a pocket knife in their either on their person or in their carry-on baggage, and they're trying to go through security with it, and they're not allowed to go into the secure part of the terminal with that kind of stuff. So they have the option of mailing the stuff to themselves. There are postal services in the airport, but a lot of times people are in a hurry to catch a flight and they don't have time to mess around with that, and so they end up just surrendering um, their pocket knife to TSA. And I don't know quite why they end up at the state surplus store, because TSA is a federal agency, but they do, and I know that there are sort of analogous things going on in other states. In a lot of places, they end up selling that stuff in auctions, like on eBay, and sometimes they bundle it into big lots. You end up buying 50 pocket knives in a lot, and you're not sure exactly what's in there. Uh, I get it. I mean, it's a ton of it's just a mountain of pocket knives, and selling them all individually on eBay would be just an enormous job. But here in Texas, they just put them in bins, and separate them into bins at different price points, and you you can go in there and dig around in the bins and find some things to buy. A lot of it is junk. A lot of it is that they've got a lot of knives that are $3 a piece, and most of that is sort of no name, garbage. Knives that you'd buy at a gas station or whatever. But then they've got, they've separated out the Victorinox stuff because a lot of people are looking specifically for that. And they've got those at a few different price points based on sort of the size of the tool, from everything from the little classics to the more mid-sized, and then they've got they pull out the really fancy ones, the multiple layers deep of 20 or 30 tools, and then they put those uh, in a display case in the front. So you can dig through, and you might find for $3 or $8 some perfectly reasonable stuff. I mean, it's I think uh, I got this bird meadowlark for $3. It's not uh, an amazing knife or anything. It's 8CR steel, but Bird is the budget brand of Spyderco, and this is basically Spyderco Delica design, a slight variation on that design. Um, and that's more than a $3 pocket knife, and you can see it's in pretty good shape. Um, Whenever I buy anything there, I always I usually disassemble the stuff and clean it real good with 91% alcohol, and then if there's rust, I deal with that as well. Uh, Polish them up, sharpen them, lubricate them, um, and I've found a lot of great stuff there over the years. And I'll post some additional videos of some of the best things that I've found. Uh, but this is what I got yesterday, plus one more thing that I'll show you. And there's some neat stuff here. It's none of this is you know none of these ranks among the best finds that I've had at the state surplus store. Uh, but obviously, I thought these were worth uh, worth more than what they were asking, or worth at least as much as what they were asking. And obviously, those of you who are into knives will see that PM2, that Spyderco Paramilitary 2, and think, "Wow, did you get that for $3 or $8? That is quite a find." Well, no, they do have a couple of guys working there who know enough about knives that they go and pull the Benchmades and the Spydercos and some of the other premium stuff out when they see it, and separate that up. And some of those are individually priced, and some of them are priced by brand. They've got a bin just of Spydercos that are all $30. This was not $30. If they know they've got something that people are definitely going to pay more than that for, then they'll individually price it. Um, this was $100, which is not a stellar deal, but for a PM2 that retails right now for closer to $190, that's almost half price. I mean, it's more than half price, but it's almost half off. Um, and it's in really very good shape. This is the current model uh, with S45 VN steel, and this has got all the blacked out hardware in there. Which so Spyderco is a company that is sort of making constant little adjustments to their product line, little improvements, and they call it constant. What is it? CQI, constant quality improvement, I think is what that stands for. Um, and this knife, this model with the blacked out blade and the black handle and the black pocket clip, was being sold for a while with you know uncoated, unpainted, um, shiny steel hardware internally, like the stop pins and stuff like that. And I think maybe even the liners and the liner lock, I can't remember, were were shiny stainless steel. And at some point recently, they decided to start blacking out all those internal components too. So I can tell that this is a really very recent production. I mean, it looks almost new, right? I mean, there's wear on the clip only, uh, and tiny bits of wear on the coating on the blade. But it's in really good shape. I honed it a little bit on a ceramic rod, and now it sliced paper really cleanly. It's very sharp. Um, not an amazing deal, but for a knife that I would think is a okay buy at 188 or whatever they are now. Getting it at 100 is, I think, obviously fine, right? Only thing is you don't get the box, and you know, you have to spend a little time cleaning it up, sharpening it, stuff like that. But yeah, so no, I didn't get that for $3. But you know, once in a while you do find something in the $3 bin that's actually pretty pretty neat. I found some vintage. I found a vintage SOG SOG made in Seki City that was in that $3 bin. That I think it's collectible, worth a couple $100. I'll show that in another video. And I found Civivi stuff in the $3 bin before. You know, I got a Civivi. What do they call it? The Brigand or the something like that. It's just a little flipper, little D2 Civivi, and it was $3, and it was in pretty good shape. I got a Civivi Elementum for $8 one time. You know, those are the knives that they probably, you know, if the guys who know what they're doing are there that day and they find those, they'll pull them out and put them in a different spot and price them differently. But there's once in a while you can find a really good deal in those bins. All right, so let's look at what else we got here. The other cheap ones that I got in this most recent visit, I got a Gerber Applegate Fairbairn. This is a assisted opening. And it was, you know, the action on it was, I mean, the action is still not amazing, but it was bad. But then it improved a lot just from a couple drips of oil to lubricate it, so the blade could move more freely. This you know, look at the serrated part of the blade there. It's you know, has not been used very much. This was $8. And you know, the larger versions of this are worth some money. The small ones not so much, but I think $8 is certainly fine. Also $8 was this massive Camillus flipper. I had to tighten it up because it had quite a bit of blade play, so now it's a little bit too tight for flipping action, but I'll get that figured out. Now, obviously, this thing is a little screwed up. The tip is busted off, right? It says titanium on there, but this is not a titanium blade, of course. It's a steel blade, and they're talking about carbon nitride titanium coating. That's what that black coating is, I guess, on this blade. Really beefy, substantial Tonto blade. What this is, though, is VG10. And VG10, you know, it's not a premium steel at this point. It was considered a premium steel. It's a Japanese stainless steel that's good for cutlery. And it's still used on a lot of, you know, moderately expensive knives. So even though this is not in fantastic shape, you know, just for a big chunk of VG10, you know, I can reprofile this, regrind it. You know, is it worth that much? Well, you know, it's worth it to have a project to work on that might be fun to redo. Now, these since I just got them yesterday, I've wiped all these down with isopropyl alcohol, but I have not disassembled them yet for the most part, which I will do. If, you know, get them all cleaned up internally and kind of lubricate things and get the action tuned on these things. And they'll be in good shape. They had a bin of CRKT knives for I think they were like $15 a piece. I picked up a couple of them. This is a new Carson design. This is a M4-02. The blade's nothing special. I think it's 8CR series stainless steel, which is, budget stuff. I mean, it's not the worst steel, but it's not a great steel. And this one has got, there's a chip near the tip that I would, I'd have to sharpen it, grind it for a bit to get past that. So that's not ideal, but these are, they're kind of cool. This is actual natural bone and black G10. And it's assisted opening. It's a liner lock. Again, this initially would not open with a real snappy action, and the lock didn't lock up all that well. But just a couple drops of oil in there got things moving better, and now it springs open hard enough that it also engages the lock well when it opens. And I'll clean that up. I give these knives away sometimes to friends who, if I see somebody's got a lousy pocket knife or lost their pocket knife or something like that, I've given away a handful of knives. This would be a nice, once it's in good shape, better shape than it is now. I think it'd be, appreciated by somebody. The other CRKT that I picked up was this Pilar, which is in pretty good shape. And this one is up, it's been upgraded with a micarta handle scale. These typically have stainless steel handles on both sides. I was kind of hoping, that this might be also upgraded blade steel, like this one, right? This looks very similar, except it's green. And this doesn't say, neither of these says what kind of steel they are specifically. But this one is, I bought this one new. This is D2 steel, and you can tell it's the last digits of the model number there. See, 5311 is the Pilar. The 5311G D2, I think, is for green D2. But this one, I think, is just the standard, 8CR steel. Happens to, I don't know if somebody did this as an aftermarket scale or if there was a retailer selling them that way, but it's just the 5311. So it's just plain the base model steel. But it's in reasonably good shape. It doesn't have any big dings in it or scratches or chips or anything. And that's a good sheep's foot blade. Pilar is named after Ernest Hemingway's boat, the Pilar. It's a Voxnace design. And, pretty good grip for such a small knife. A lot of people like these. So there was that one. The buck knives, a lot of the buck knives at the state surplus store are $20 a piece. And sometimes you can find, like a 110 or 112 that's in really good shape in there for $20, which, does retail for $60 or something. So they're not outrageously expensive, and it's not an outrageous deal to get them at at 20, but you know, I mean, if it's basically as good as a new one, that's a third of the price. That's still a reasonable bargain. This is definitely worth more than 20 bucks. This is the model 347, and these have S30V steel. So that's a particle metallurgy. That's a high-end steel. A few years ago, people would have called that a super steel. The only reason it's not in that category presently is that they've since come up with some further evolutions of that sort of formulation to S35VN and S45, S90, etc. That are the new best thing. But S30V is very good, very balanced knife steel, and as you can see, this blade's in great shape, no chips or anything. And they heat treat these really well. That Boss, I'm not sure if it's pronounced Boss or Bose or something else, but that's the name of the guy who came up with the heat treatment that they use on their 420 blades, which they get really good performance out of 420HC, which is not a particularly awesome steel, but they heat treat them really well, and you get good edge retention out of them. And they're doing that special heat treatment process with this S30V, and I have another one of these that I'm really quite happy with. So saw this in there, 20 bucks. Yeah, okay. Only thing is this one's missing the pocket clip. This model does usually have a pocket clip. Some buck knives don't have a pocket clip. This one does have one that mounts from the rear. I don't know if I can find a replacement for that, or if I'll just, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to have a pocket clip. A lot of buck knives are carried in sheaths, or just in a pocket, and or just, maybe this won't be one that I carry. Maybe I'll just leave this by the front door for opening boxes and stuff. But yeah, definitely worth the 20 bucks. I think these retail for about 90, this model. So yeah, that's a good buy. And then we got a couple more Spydercos here. Stainless steel Delica. And this is in fine shape, right? I mean, it was a little bit dirty, but I cleaned it up, and it doesn't look like it's been used all that much. No chips in the blade, really, no big scratches or anything. A little bit of some kind of a stain there that I could probably deal with that. A little tiny spot of rust right there. VG10, it's technically a stainless steel, but it's not impervious to stains, as we'll see in a minute. But these go for like 100 and something. So getting it at 30 bucks is pretty reasonable. I mean, 30 bucks is what you would pay just to get a replacement clip. And in fact, I have bought Spydercos at the state surplus before just for the clip, to replace a clip on something else. This is a relatively recent model. They've been making these stainless steel handled Delicas and Enduros and stuff for a long time, and some of them are pretty old. This one is not super old. You can tell because the really old ones don't have jimping. They're other things besides VG10. I've seen them in like OSA 8 and stuff. G2 maybe, the really old ones. It's got some pocket wear, on the handles, probably in somebody's pocket with keys or change or something. But that will polish out pretty easily, actually. Get some 1500 grit wet sandpaper, wet sand that. Be, it'll look new. and it won't be overly polished to where it's a mirror polish. You don't want to go to like 8,000 grit unless you want it to obviously be not new but modified, right? This is a little dirty. You know, I'll clean this up some more. These models though can't be, they're pinned construction, so I can't really disassemble this all the way to get to the internal stuff. But I can swab in there, and it doesn't look that bad inside. You know, you can see in there. It's pretty clean actually. But I'll swab it out. You know, and I sharpened this up a little bit already, and it's good and slicey. I mean, it's a saber ground blade, right? Which most of the you know, Delicas and Enduras and stuff from Seki City, well, they're all from Seki City, come in either a full flat grind or a saber height flat grind. And the full flat grind is generally more desirable. Let's see here. Yeah. So here's a Delica, the plastic handle, or well, GRN, GFN, whatever. You'd see the difference in the height of the grind. This one goes all the way up, and this one goes part way up. This means it'll be a little thicker, right? So maybe harder to snap, a little bit stronger blade, but this is slicier. This will be a more efficient slicer. That, by the way, also from the State Surplus store. That's a Delica 4. That's a current model. All right. This other Spyderco is an old one. And I think this model is the Executive. I'm not an expert on those, you know, early 90s Spydercos, but you know, you kind of tell there's a few things that date this to that era. You know, it's got only one position pocket clip, right? It's not drilled out for positioning the pocket clip in 4 different places. No Boyd dent, right? Later Spydercos have a dent here so that when you're gripping the knife, you don't disengage the lock, which, you know, you're not likely to do anyway, but they didn't have that little extra feature on some of these earlier ones. This one just says Spyderco and Seki Japan on it. It doesn't say what kind of steel it is. It doesn't say Seki City, Japan, as some of the later ones did. Also different shape pocket clip. This is more sort of rectangular as opposed to being sort of spoon shaped, right? And different configuration for the screws, right? This pattern here is a little more flat, whereas this is sort of more triangular pattern for the screw holes. Now this, I think, probably had something engraved on it, and somebody has sanded that off with pretty coarse, I don't know, coarse sandpaper or file or something. And that, it's kind of gnarly, but I can sand that out better to where it looks basically new on the handle. I think I've seen the same thing with the G2 blade. I don't know what steel this is. If this is, I mean, it could be G2, it could be ATS 55 or 34, could be AUS 8. You know, that's the thing about Spyderco is they were kind of constantly tweaking and changing things. So you see a lot of sort of similar models with little variations over a period of a couple of years. The very tip of it, you know, has been sort of sharpened a few times inexpertly. It's a little frumpy looking. But the serrations are still super sharp, and that's a factory edge on the serrations. And so yeah, it doesn't look like this knife was used all that much. Is this a good deal? I'm not sure, actually. You know, I mean, there's a tiny bit of, well, just a tiny bit of blade play, which I can't do anything about, really, because this is, again, is pinned to construction. But you know, it's cool to me. I have a lot of Spydercos. I didn't have this one, so now I do. So as a collector of Spydercos, you know, okay. I mean, I obviously was interested enough to buy it. You know, real serious collector would probably want one in pristine condition, you know, with the box and all that stuff. But that would cost more, obviously. I mean, this was $30, which I doubt you're going to find this model on eBay for $30, or at a knife show, you know. So, yeah, I mean, it might be worth a lot more than that, or it might be, you know, that might not be a super excellent find, but I definitely think it's an okay find. I got one more here to show you, which I've already started to disassemble. And this one, you can see this is a bit gnarly. So sometimes you get things from the surplus store that are in pretty bad shape. This is a Spyderco Cricket. There's the hardware and pocket clip and stuff for that. Yeah, these are kind of cool. They're very slender when they're assembled. You know, I mean, it's very thin profile, so it carries, you know, in the fifth pocket of your jeans fine, or you could even carry it on, you know, on a lanyard or something. It's a frame lock. It's got this serrated hawkbill shape, and you can see it's got a little rust on it. And it looks worse than this in the store. This is after I've, you know, cleaned it up with some alcohol and polished off a little bit of the superficial staining. This is going to take a little more effort to get out, and it, you know, might leave a little bit of pitting behind, or maybe not. But the lockup on it was fine when it was assembled. The very tippy tip is busted off there, but, you know, that's not uncommon and not that big of a deal. The serrations all look good. You know, I don't think this was used a hell of a lot. Although it was obviously carried and, you know, got wet or something and was not dried off or wiped down or anything. So yeah, I mean, VG10 will rust if it's mistreated, even though it's technically a stainless steel. But yeah, those sell, I think, for, you know, just a little bit under $100 new. And this one's not new, but it'll look pretty close to new by the time I'm done with it. And it's a knife, you know, so I like Spydercos. It's a model that I didn't have. So yeah. There's the Cricket. And those are all there's 9 of them. Those are the knives I bought yesterday. My latest visit to the state surplus store. Like I said, I'll post another video or two showing a few of the other treasures that I've found there. And some I've found, you know, some really interesting stuff. Because you never know what you're going to get, because it's just whatever people happen to be carrying when they forgot that they had a knife in their pocket and tried to get on an airplane. And it's funny, if you say that these are TSA-confiscated knives, the guys at the store will correct you. They say they weren't confiscated; they were voluntarily surrendered, which, I guess is true. That, you had the option of keeping your knife and not boarding your flight, or, possibly missing your flight while you were trying to mail it home or something. Um, they didn't insist on taking them. They just said you can't go past the security checkpoint with it. So I feel a little bit bad sometimes. I look at that and I say, oh man, I can sympathize with somebody feeling bummed about losing a knife that they may have carried for a long time. May have valued and may have spent good money on and lost, but that at this point the knives are in the system and they're for sale, and I I at least will take care of them and clean them up, and like I said, I end up giving these away sometimes to people, including people who've lost a knife somewhere. So maybe sort of paying it forward, or some kind of circular process there. So anyway, that's a look at the latest haul, and we'll see you next time.